All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It's a Monday night. It's time for the Urban Conservative Podcast. This episode, we're going to talk about what happened to the NAACP. The Urban Conservative Podcast starts now.
This is Cash Patel here in North Carolina, and I'm live.
Hey, buddy, do you like NASCAR? Do you like a tribe called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you'd love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative Podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative.
Do you want to slap your boss and then go home and make yourself some golden brown pancakes covered in butter and freshly made warm boysenberry syrup? Then you'll love the Urban Conservative.
If you're a little over Cardi B and you're repulsed by the thought of hog maw, check out the Urban Conservative. You ready? If you think the earth is flat and always on that weird side of YouTube, check out the Urban Conservative. They'll set you straight.
If you're in a chasing dopey and you love saltfish and festival, check out the Urban Conservative.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It's a Monday night. It is time for the Urban Conservative Podcast. Yours truly, Abdul Ali, with my twin brother from the same mother, no other, Raheem Architect Soto. If you haven't done so already, tuconservative.com is the website you can go to support us and what we do, which is to share conservative values and principles, as well as the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across this great nation of ours. Again, tuconservative.com is the website. Follow us on all social media. Make sure you share this content. Tonight, we have a very, very interesting show lined up for you all. Hey, bro, I got to tell you this. One of the things that popped up as I was doing some research for tonight's show is, you know, the guy up in New York City got found not guilty, Daniel Penny, right?
Yep.
That's a big deal. Well, one of the interesting things about this, as we talk about what's happening, is we're going to talk about the rise and fall of the NAACP tonight, y'all. But one of the interesting things is they did actually release a statement, and it's interesting to me that I read this statement, right? And it says the NAACP is deeply disappointed by today's jury decision in the tragic death of Jordan Neely. This case sets a dangerous precedent by embracing vigilantism and disregarding the sanctity of human life. Let's be clear. Mental health crises are medical emergencies, not crime. America has yet again criminalized our community and subverted accountability. We remain resolute in our commitment to ensure that Black Americans receive the mental health care they deserve and our humanity is respected under the law. Black Americans, African Americans. What does that mean? This is part of what the problem is with this organization, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's lost its way. It's something that is at least from what I can see has gone a very bad direction. So first thing we're gonna do, and I think we should start here, bro. how many of y'all actually have taken the time to look who started the NAACP?
Okay,
Like,
hold on. Let's do this. For those that's watching, number one, do remember to get in the comment section. Let us know where you are watching and or listening from. But let's start off with a question. What is you guys' earliest memories of what the NAACP is? Like, just get in the comment section. What do you remember as a kid when you heard the NAACP? What came to mind for you guys? And I want to share with you that
okay.
the thing that came up for me when I thought NAACP, because I know we about to go into history and technicalities and some of the direction of where this organization has gone. But I, at one time, associated the NAACP with pride. I associated it with the song "Lift Every Voice and Sing" for some reason, right?
Mm.
I that's what when I heard the NAACP, I always thought a mind is a terrible thing to waste. It always reminded me
It
of
made you think of the United Negro College Fund?
yeah, that's it. It's just what I'm just saying. The imagery, the
Right, right,
thought when
right.
you say it, these are the things that I would assume when you say the NAACP. These are the things that go through one's mind. So I'm curious, coming up when you guys heard the term NAACP, did it matter to you? Did it not matter to you? Was it just some letters that you heard on the news? Like I'm just curious about that because this organization has been around long enough that it it's a staple of American culture at this point. The NAACP is American, right? Like it's an American thing.
Okay.
Right.
I
So
mean,
I just wanted to put that out there for the audience. Get in the comment section. Let us know where or when you first heard of the NAACP Pizzle.
all right. So let's jump in here. Uh I my first thing when I think of it, you're gonna be like, really, bro? When I think of the NAACP, the first thing I think of is that old documentary, Eyes on the Prize. That's the
Dude, see
first
what I'm
thing that
saying? All right, cool. That's where you go. All right, got
all
you.
right. So let's take a look at this real quick, y'all, because we don't want to, you know how we give it up here. We don't want to be biased in any way. We're just going to look at the facts, okay? Fact is that National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is an American civil rights organization formed in 1909 as an interracial endeavor to advance justice for African Americans by a group including W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary White Ovington, Moorfield Story, Ida B. Wells, Lillian Wald, and Henry Muskowitz. Over the years, leaders of the organization have included Thurgood Marshall and Roy Wilkins. Now, I want to stop here for a second. Everybody knows who W.E.B. Du Bois is. Is that fair to say that everybody knows who that guy is?
In 2024, I don't know if it's fair to say, but a lot of people do.
Okay. What I found interesting about this was who some of these other founders were, because everybody should know who Ida B. Wells is. But I clicked on this, right? And what I found interesting was that I didn't realize it was white folk that started the NAACP.
Yeah, I mean, white folks started a lot of things. I mean, like let's just be honest. White folks have started some amazing things, right? Um White folks have invented the string bean casserole, right? The you know,
Raisins in the potato salad. Got to give them raisins.
let's give them airplanes. You got to give that to white folks. They did airplanes, right?
Longboats. Do you give them
You
longboats?
got to even long boats. I mean, you have to give them. Is it fair to say they get mashed potatoes? Do white people get? I think they own mashed potatoes. Anyway, I digress. My
Right.
point being is that I'm not shocked at that because they gave us abolitionism. They did that too. White folks were really big on the abolitionism, man. So
Hey, I ain't mad at it. She was
no.
educated at Packer Collegiate Institute, Radcliffe College of Harvard. Ovington became involved in the campaign for civil rights in 1890 after hearing Frederick Douglass speak in a Brooklyn church, and in 1903 speech by Booker T. Washington at the Social Reform Club. In 1894, she met Ida B. Wells while taking Christmas presents to Ida's sister. Mary was so appalled by their living conditions that she started working with Wells to force the city to update the tenements. In 1905, she joined the Socialist Party of America.
Wish we had like instant DJ, like instant turntable, so it could be like socialist, socialist. Like I wish you could do that. Now that's important, folks, and a little bit on later on, we're going to talk about the political shift of this organization and the political home of this organization. And again, this isn't a tear the NAACP down show. This is a who are these people and what has their mission been and what happened.
So before you go any further, I had to click on the Socialist Party of America. The SPA was a socialist political party in the United States formed in 1901 by a merger between the then 3-year-old Social Democratic Party of America and disaffected elements of the Socialist Labor Party. I'm going to stop right there. So that's one of your first founders of the W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary Ovington. I don't know who Moorfield Story is. I didn't know he happened to be another white guy.
Oh, wait till you read this. I know who he is. Go ahead. Read that one.
Okay. Moorfield Story was an American lawyer, anti-imperial activist, and civil rights leader based in Boston. According to his biographer, William B. Hickson, he had a worldview that embodied pacifism, anti-imperialism, and racial egalitarianism fully as much as it did laissez-faire and moral tone in government. Story served as the founding president of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, serving from 1909 to his death in 1929. He opposed the United States expansionism beginning with the Spanish-American War. How is a non-colored guy the first president of the Colored People's Association? How does that work? Born in 1845 in Roxbury, a suburb of Boston, his family descended from the earliest Puritan settlers in New England, close connections with the abolitionist movement. Story's father was a Boston lawyer. He went to Boston Latin School, graduated in 1862. During the beginning of the Civil War, he then continued on to Harvard. I'm noticing there's this Harvard connection with all of these people.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad, and for the listeners, right? This is not conspiracy theorish. The relationships between the political left and the socialist movement and the rest of this is documented, because you can look at who these people are and then see what their affiliations were and where they went to school. So there's nothing new about some of the sentiments that we've seen, some of the anti-Semitic rhetoric that has came from the left. And if I'm not mistaken, members of the NAACP have gotten on board with some of this anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic rhetoric. So it's not surprising seeing who some of these people are. And given the social climate of the country at this point, Ali, it's not a shock. It's not even a shock. And I would assume Henry Moskowitz is a Jewish man. If I had to guess.
I'm gonna work our way to him. So we got W.E.B. Du Bois is black. You have Ida B. Wells, who's black. You got a white woman and a white man. And this is the other founder here, Lillian Wald, American nurse, humanitarian author. She strove for human rights and started American community nursing. She founded the Henry Street Settlement in New York City, was an early advocate for nurses in public school. She was a nurse, the Henry Street Settlement, employment of women, community outreach, and activism. Wald never married. She maintained her closest relationships and attachment with women. Wonder what that was about.
Do we need to wonder?
I don't think we do.
Okay.
Do we really need to wonder?
No. Okay. So now let's go to the Moskowitz guy. Let's
Hold on. So you got Lillian Wald was white, Moorfield Story was white, Mary Ovington was white, and good old Henry Moskowitz here. Henry Moskowitz was a civil rights activist and one of the co-founders of the NAACP. Born in 1880 in Husi, Romania, he was Jewish. Migrated to the U.S. in 1883, attended New York City public schools, and then graduated from City College in 1899. In 1906, earned his PhD in philosophy from the University of Erlangen in Germany. He married Belle Linzer Israels in 1914. Mayor John Pori Mitchell appointed him to the presidency of the Municipal Civil Service Commission. In 1917, served as Commissioner of Public Markets. He was founding executive director of the League of New York Theaters, which eventually became the Broadway League, the organization known for producing the Tony Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the entertainment edge, and he was also a co-founder of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. So we've already, in just looking at these few people, have uncovered that we're talking about socialists, but we're talking about people who were influential. But let's keep going through this because I wanted to see something. His mission in the 21st century is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality rights of all persons and to eliminate race-based discrimination. I got to stop right there. If you're the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, isn't that discriminating against non-colored people?
Okay, but one thing that has to come up when we talk about this origin story of this organization that will further highlight what you're saying is that it was founded in response, some say, to in their literature in 1909 in response to the 1908 Springfield race riot in Illinois. Okay. And the stated mission then was to combat racial discrimination, violence, and inequality with a focus on achieving full civil rights for African Americans. That was their early stance in the early 1900s. Okay. Now, as that has changed, as that it's like we're saying two things. One, their original purpose, and two, that they were always led by what the left would call diverse leadership, right? You got some black people, you got some white people, you got some women, you got some men. That in their mind would be some level of diversity, no?
I mean, sure. Never had a woman president though until now.
There you go.
Never had a woman president until now.
There you go.
But like he said, the race riot of 1908 in Springfield, the state capital in Abraham Lincoln's hometown, was a catalyst showing the urgent need for an effective civil rights organization. In the decades around the turn of the century, the rate of lynching of blacks, particularly men, was at an all-time high. Ovington, journalist William English Walling, and Henry Moskowitz met in New York City in 1909 to work on organizing for black civil rights. They sent out solicitations for support in more than 60 prominent Americans and set a meeting date for February 12th. This was intended to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the birth of Lincoln, who emancipated enslaved African Americans. While the first large meeting did not occur until 3 months later, the date in February is cited as the organization's founding. It was technically founded on February 12, 1909 by a larger group, including African Americans. I just want to say this at the outset. Mary White Ovington, William Walling, and Henry Moskowitz, this wasn't something that came out of the minds of black people. This was not a black thought, if you will.
Right. Fair to say.
Fair to say. The NAACP, founded on February 12, 1909, a larger groups, including W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells, Archibald Grimke, Mary Church Terrell, and the previously named whites. Florence Kelly is social for and blah, 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 blah. On May 30th, 1909, the Niagara Movement Conference took place at New York City's Henry Street Settlement. Now, what people have to realize is when you look this up, in Wiki, it tells you the predecessor of the NAACP is something called the Niagara Movement. The Pan American Exposition of 1901 in Buffalo featured American innovations and achievement, but also included a disparaging caricature of slave life in the South, as well as depictions of life in Africa called Old Plantation and Darkest Africa, respectively. A local African American woman, Mary Taylor of Ohio, was appalled by the as a similar one in Paris highlighted Black achievements. She informed W.E.B. Du Bois, and the coalition began to form. In 1905, a group of 32 prominent African American leaders met to discuss the challenges facing African Americans, possible strategies, and solutions. They were particularly concerned by the Southern states' disenfranchisement of Blacks, starting with Mississippi's passage of a new constitution in 1890. Now, when you look through this and you see that W.E.B. Du Bois plays a role, and you look at how the NAACP has morphed over the years, what you see is the fledgling group, the Black group, struggled for a time with limited resources and internal conflict and disbanded in 1910. So what I want y'all to take away from this is the NAACP was not a thought of Black people. It was not started by Black people for Black people. It was started by people who thought they had to save the Black folk. Does that not sound like something you hear today from the far left?
It does. It does. And I will, playing fair ball here. Given the coming out of the Civil War, coming out of Jim Crow, coming into we're talking early 1900s, we're talking about a very weird space and time scientifically, anthropologically, with some of the sciences that genetics and all of these different fields of study coming out. I understand the need, the desire to see other human beings treated fairly, right? That's a noble cause. We're not taking away in any way, shape, or form from the idea of not treating other people like property being a good idea. That's a great idea, right?
Now I want to point something out though.
The
Go ahead.
racist part of it to me is the reasoning behind a lot of what they were thinking, whether they were just victim of the scientific thought of the time, right, being what it was, but they were under the impression that, genuinely Black people were inferior and that they needed, that there were exceptional Negroes, if you will. And they even got down with some of them.
Now I wanna take a pause here, bro, because when you talk about this idea that white folk and the science of the time thought that there were exceptional Negroes, everybody wants to give W.E.B. Du Bois all of this credit, Du Bois all of this credit. And do you know what started in 1908 around all of this? Do you know what was started in 1908 around all of this stuff happening, bro? You know what came about as a result of this ideology, this talented Negro ideology? You know what I'm about to talk about, right?
No. What are you about to talk about?
All right. I want to make sure that we keep something in mind. Look at this. Alpha Phi Alpha was the first Black Greek letter fraternity founded in 1906. Alpha Kappa Alpha was the first Greek letter organization established by Black women, founded in 1908 at Howard. I want to point something out. Do you know who was one of the founders of the first Black Greek letter society?
W.
E.B. Du Bois. Du Bois. Do y'all know what this talented 10th idea really is and what these Black Greek letter fraternities were set up to do, which is why you see these Black Greek letter fraternities so in bed with the NAACP? Do y'all not understand why these things are so intertwined? The phrase talented 10th originated in 1896 among white Northern liberals. Specifically, the American Baptist Home Mission Society, a Christian missionary society strongly supported by John D. Rockefeller. They had the goal of establishing black colleges in the South to train black teachers and elites. In 1903, W.E.B. Du Bois wrote The Talented Tenth. Theodore Russell Roosevelt was president of the United States, and industrialization was skyrocketing. I don't know why that did that. Why did that go? I don't know what that did that for. Okay, I get back to it. Du Bois thought it was a good time for African Americans to advance their positions in society. The talented 10th refers to the 1 in 10 black men that have cultivated the ability to become leaders of the black community by acquiring a college education, writing books, and becoming directly involved in social change. In The Talented 10th, Du Bois argues that these college-educated African-American men should sacrifice their personal interests and use their education to lead and better the black community. He strongly believed that the black community needed a classical education to reach their full potential rather than the industrial education promoted by the Atlanta Compromise, endorsed by Booker T. Washington and some white philanthropists. He saw classical education as the pathway to bettering the black community and as a basis for what the 20th century would be known as public intellectuals.
Now, hold up. Let's go back up just a little bit, because there's two things that go down a little. Go down a little. He strongly believed paragraph, right? So it's very difficult to argue with saying that children need a basic education. They need to be able to read and write. They need to be able to perform arithmetic. They need to have good handwriting, and they need to have a level of physical fitness, right? That's a difficult point to be against, right? So we would agree with that, right? But what happens when you click on classical education?
The classical education movement, or renewal, advocates for a return to a traditional European education based on the liberal arts, including the natural sciences, the Western canons of classical literature, the fine arts, and the history of Western civilization. It focuses on human formation and a paideia, with an early emphasis on music, gymnastics, recitation, imitation, and grammar. Multiple organizations support classical education in charter schools, in independent faith-based schools, and in home education. The movement has inspired several graduate programs in colleges, as well as peer-reviewed journals. Principia, a journal of classical education.
All right, now let's go back. So we got proponents of what's being called the classical education, and the Atlanta Compromise, which we could almost call the push towards the trades, right? Just give us a brief. What is that?
Okay. What came to be known as the Atlanta Compromise stemmed from a speech given by Booker T. Washington, president of the Tuskegee Institute, to the Cotton States in International Exposition in Atlanta on September 18th, 1895. It was first supported and later opposed by Du Bois and other African American leaders. In the speech, also known as the Atlanta Exposition Speech, Washington promoted vocational education, industrial occupations, and learning of other practical trades that would give African Americans opportunities for economic advancement and wealth creation, rather than more intellectual pursuits such as higher education. I'm going to stop right there, because you look right now and you see what these kids are going to school for. I'm getting a liberal arts degree. I'm learning art history. I'm becoming a history major. And now you want us to pay off your student loan debt because you got a degree in something you can't use. And what he was talking about was you need to learn how to use machines. You need to learn how to be a farmer, an engineer, something vocational that'll allow you to move yourself up and have a skill no matter what happens. And
Now,
I think
the thing to keep in mind is the time frame of this. So you have the late 1890s, where you have this idea of the Atlanta Compromise, and you have Booker T. Washington, and you have this other group of people. Now, they differ, and this all goes to the later political direction of the NAACP. And again, I want to make sure that we're clear about this, Ali, that we're not bashing this organization. We're just highlighting, because some people have asked and have been curious, like, why would an organization that purports or promotes the idea of the advancement of a group of people which advancement sounds like a good thing until you find out exactly where we're going on this trip. Where are we exactly advancing to? Like
Yeah.
where are we headed? So when you look at this, the idea, right? I'm not opposed to a traditional education. Again, reading, writing, history up until the point where we're at, so you know what's going on around us geopolitically. Make sure you can read, write, use it. I mean, when we went to school, we had table saws in the school. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Like you remember carving wood and doing all these different projects in school but they started to phase those things out.
I wanna point something out though.
Yeah.
In his book, The Talented 10th Essay, he said the Negro race, like all races, is going to be saved by its exceptional men. The problem of education, then, among Negroes must first of all deal with the talented 10th. It is the problem of developing the best of this race that they may guide the mass away from the contamination and the death of the worst. So he within himself is creating division among Black folk. He's saying that not all Black people are equal. There's a better Black person than another Black person.
That's what he said.
That's just what he said. So let's go back. Let's go back here. I want to go back here. So now we've kind of got this idea of what's at the founding and the thought process behind the people who have founded the NAACP. We already know,
and we've gotten rid of one of the myths that this is a Black organization per se, that this is a Black-led effort from its inception. That's not true. Okay, and the other misconception is that this organization has prioritized political activism. All right, but it didn't start off that way, right? Let's not put unnecessary smut on the NAACP jacket right now. They didn't start that way. They started off focusing on education, which again is a great thing. The kids need to know how to read. People need to know, sure, all of those things, great, no problem. Now, where do we go from here? Because what we have is at this point, and let's move forward, Ali. Let's say to the 1920s and 30s, right?
okay. In its early years, the NAACP was based in New York. It concentrated on litigation and efforts to overturn disenfranchisement of Blacks, which had been established in the southern states, excluding most from the political system, and the Jim Crow statutes that legalized racial segregation. In 1913, the NAACP organized opposition to Woodrow Wilson's introduction of a racial segregation into federal government policy, workplaces, and hiring. African American women's clubs were among the organizations that protested Wilson's changes, but the administration did not alter its assuagement of Southern cabinet members and the Southern Bloc in Congress. By 1914, there were about 6,000 members in 50 branches. It was influential in winning the right of African Americans to serve in the military as military officers in World War I.
Hold on. So for you political science buffs, or again, those of you who don't understand, we need you to grasp this concept that this paragraph is a few things, a few little nuggets, some little hidden gems in there, right?
Okay.
In 1913, the NAACP organized opposition to President Woodrow Wilson's induction of racial segregation into federal government policy, workplaces, and hiring. African American women's clubs were among the organizations that protested Wilson's changes, but the administration did not alter its assuagement of the Southern cabinet members and the Southern Bloc in Congress. Okay, what party were the Southern cabinet members of the Southern Bloc in Congress? And what did they want?
I'll tell you right now, Woodrow Wilson was a Democrat.
Okay, but what I'm getting at, again, is that if we look at who the Southern cabinet members were and what the Southern Bloc in Congress meant at this particular time, right? That
Southern Bloc in Congress would make a difference in whether certain legislation would get through or not get through. They had certain concessions because of a lot of American industry located in the South. So concessions were being made in a political sense that, these type of things still happen, maybe not on the same scale, but at the end of the day, these are Democrats we're talking about. And again, this is not a Democrat bashing session, but when the whack juice gets on your jacket, the whack juice is on your jacket. That's just what it is.
Got to deal with it. You got to deal
All
with
right,
the
so
juice.
by 1914, go ahead.
All right. So by 1914, there were about 6,000 members, 50 branches. The NAACP fought to get African Americans to serve as military officers during World War I, which I think is a worthwhile. Nobody has a problem with that. 600 African American officers were commissioned and 700,000 men registered for the draft. The following year, the NAACP organized a nationwide protest with marches in numerous cities against D.W. Griffith's silent movie, The Birth of a Nation, a film that glamorized the KKK. As a result, several cities refused to allow the film to open. They also began to lead lawsuits targeting disenfranchisement and racial segregation early in its history. And I want to stop there because I know for a fact, and for those of you who watch the show or live in a major city in an urban area, the NAACP has gone away, in my opinion, from lawsuits that target outright clear disenfranchisement and racial segregation, and has strictly focused on being the lawsuit arm of the Democrat Party.
In other words, they will come in and bury you in litigation for accusations of unfair treatment of enter your group of people, and with the type of money they have and legal team they have, you going to settle, you going to acquiesce. You going to bend the knee. You going to bend the knee.
Right. So as we move ahead, I'm going to move ahead a couple of chapters here. It organized the first two 1935 New York anti-lynching exhibitions. So they were doing some good work. The board of directors of NAACP created the Legal Defense Fund in 1939 specifically for tax purposes. It functioned as the NAACP legal department. Intimidated by the Department of Treasury and the IRS, the Legal and Educational Defense Fund, Inc. became a separate legal entity in 1957, although it was clear that it was to operate in accordance with NAACP policy. By the 40s, the federal courts were amenable to lawsuits regarding constitutional rights, against which congressional action was virtually impossible. The rise of private corporate litigators such as the NAACP to bear the expense, civil suits became the pattern in modern civil rights litigation and the public face of the civil rights movement. The NAACP's legal department, headed by Charles Hamilton Houston and Thurgood Marshall, undertook a campaign spanning several decades to bring about the reversal of the separate but equal doctrine announced by the Supreme Court's decision in Plessy v. Ferguson, the world famous case that everybody knows about. The campaign for desegregation culminated in the unanimous 1954 Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education that held state-sponsored segregation of public elementary schools was unconstitutional. And that to me sounds like good work, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. So Ali, I want to move forward a little bit because the political
1990 Rock Jones.
Yeah, let's do that. Move forward because by now, right, by the 90s, to be honest, I feel that the racial tensions in America, like you were almost weird by the 90s for not liking black people. You were odd for not liking hip hop, or because you got to understand, like by the 90s, hip hop is a worldwide phenomenon. That sitcom television, like it's we're past the Archie Bunker days. We're I'm not saying racial things didn't happen, right? You had Yusef Hawkins in the late 80s, and you had the Howard Beach thing, and you had a few things happen, but by then it was just like, to me, by the 90s, it was like, it seemed like the world was in a better place relating to racism, if you will, or that overt racism.
Or sure. Sure, but you got to remember the late 80s, early 90s was a lot of rampant police discrimination in LA and New York and other places. There was a lot going on. But in the 90s, the NAACP ran into debt. The dismissal of two leading officials further added to the picture of an organization in deep crisis. After such, Rupert Richardson began her term as president of the NAACP in 1992. In 1993, the NAACP Board of Directors narrowly selected Reverend Ben Chavis over Reverend Jesse Jackson to fill the position of executive director. A controversial figure, Chavis was ousted 18 months later by the same board. They accused him of using the NAACP funds for an out-of-court settlement in a sexual harassment lawsuit. Sloppy work. Following the dismissal of Chavis, Merle Evers Williams narrowly defeated NAACP chairperson William Gibson for president in 95 after Gibson was accused of overspending and mismanagement of the organization's funds. In 96,
that seems like a consistent theme.
It does. It does. In 96, Kwame Nkrumah, Democrat congressman from Maryland, former head of the Congressional Black Caucus, was named the organization's president. 3 years later, strained finances forced the organization to drastically cut its staff from 250 in 1992 down to 50. In the second half of the 90s, the organization restored its finances, permitting the NAACP National Voter Fund to launch a major Get Out the Vote offensive in 2000 U.S. presidential elections. 10.5 million African Americans cast their ballots. This was 1 million more than 4 years before. The NAACP's effort was credited by observers as playing a significant role in Democrat Al Gore's winning several states where the election was close, such as Pennsylvania and Michigan. During the 2000 election, Lee Alcorn, president of the Dallas NAACP branch, criticized Gore's selection of Joe Lieberman for his vice presidential candidate because Lieberman was Jewish. And it was more drama. Basically, the organization at this point was becoming more and more drama. And this is the big thing I wanted to get to. Was in 2004, the IRS informed the NAACP it was investigating its tax-exempt status based on Chairman Julian Bond's speech at the 2004 convention, in which he criticized George Bush as well as other political figures. In North Carolina, just so you know, the NAACP lost its tax-exempt status. So there has been and I don't know about a lot of the other states, but I know there's been a lot of stuff like that happening in different states where the state level organizations have been mismanaged. They also issued that stupid travel warning. When I look at this travel warning in Missouri, they issued that stupid travel warning to Florida, which was a terrible idea.
Yep.
But the reason we're going to come forward with this and talk about
listen,
the organization,
even this is how you know it's mismanaged, because you had the goofballs out in Rocky Mount running that NAACP into the ground.
You did,
right? Just 100% goofballs, just sussy goofballs.
Hold on, I want to show y'all something.
Sussy goofballs.
Hold on, I got it.
And now on this week's episode of Sussy Goofballs.
Here we go.
Captain Sus Goofball.
This is why the organization, I believe, is in the situation it's in right here. Y'all take a look at this.
Okay, what are we looking at, buddy? What are we looking at? I don't see nothing.
Hold on, I got it. It's coming.
Okay, we waiting. We patiently waiting.
Timmonsville, NAACP. New for you at 6, a serious claim from the Timmonsville NAACP president. On Facebook last month, he posted that he was racially profiled by a town police officer. However, a Florence community activist says the officer's body cam video doesn't match up with what the civil rights organization leader says happened. ABC 15's Tanya Brown spoke with the man who reviewed video from that night.
How are you? This is body cam video from a traffic stop last month by a Timminsville police officer. It shows the officer pulling over Timminsville NAACP president, Reverend Gerard Moultrie, for a traffic violation and problems with his license plate. Moultrie posted about the encounter on Facebook back on April 13th that he was racially profiled because he was black.
Robin.
No. Rhetorical pause right here. So tonight I was racially profiled by a Timminsville officer because I was driving a Mercedes Benz and going home in a nice neighborhood. But tomorrow they will hear from me. Tanya B. Brown, Natasha Moultrie, NAACP, Georgetown, Timminsville, and tagged a bunch of people. Me. Hello, sir. How can I help you? Officer, I'm stopping you because you failed to put on a turn signal. And do you have any drugs in the car? Me, sir, how would you know if I used my turn signal when you was approaching me as I turned? So it's just terrible. The grammar's terrible. Everything about this is terrible.
Driving a Mercedes and heading home in his nice neighborhood. In the posting, Moultrie said he was asked if there were any drugs in the car. Moultrie says in the post, the officer told him he could have taken him to jail and was doing him a favor. But the body cam video shows a very pleasant conversation between Moultrie and the officer.
Don't believe it, man.
Florence community activist Timothy Waters requested a copy of the video from Timminsville Police through Freedom of Information. Waters tells me he was misled until he saw the actual video.
Well, once I got a copy of that body cam, it's as if he made the whole story up. And I felt like he set us back 100 years.
Insanity.
If that's what's going on in the NAACP, if that's the type of leadership, if they've gotten to the point, because like my brother said, there's a point in our country where you look kind of goofy being a racist.
Get a load of this. Get a load of this.
Taylor's attorney is speaking out after he was recently arrested. Taylor's attorney is speaking out after he was recently arrested in Albany.
Yeah, Taylor is the current president of the Albany-Doherty NAACP, previously served as Doherty County's Republican chair, and has run for several political offices, most recently for District 153 House of Representatives. Now, according to an Albany police report, Monday, Taylor and his wife got into a verbal argument, and it's alleged that Taylor then, quote, threw some beer on her. Albany police officers were called, and when they arrived, Taylor's wife told them she did not want to press charges. Still, officers placed Taylor into double-locked handcuffs and searched, then arrested him.
Folks have misunderstandings every day, and just because they have a misunderstanding does not mean it's a crime. Well, there's more serious stuff going on in Albany and Doherty County, and it is our hope that when the district attorney looks at the facts of this case, they're basically not prosecuted.
Well, Taylor's charged with misdemeanor simple battery family violence. WAOB also spoke to Albany police who told us they take.
And now listen, Ali. He's a former Republican something or another.
No, hey, anybody get it? One last thing I want to show y'all. This is where the NAACP is at. Y'all remember that? You know who that is, don't you? Rachel Dolezal. Yeah. She infiltrated the NAACP, grew up white, grew up as a white woman.
I have to say, that is on the left. That is without question a white woman. Without question. Without question. On the right, that, like, if you showed me that picture and be like, yo, my homegirl's coming over, I wouldn't even hesitate to say, who, the white girl on the right? Like, I wouldn't even hesitate.
I don't know how she pulled that off. I never for once thought she was black.
Here's what happens.
Was it the hair?
Yeah, you get the braids, right? The little micro braids. You do a little spray tan, right? You do a little spray tan and say some shit like, my dad's half white. he say something like that. My mom's black, but like my dad's half white. You come up with something like that. But that's not even. Yeah, I mean that could be your light skinned auntie.
Or could she maybe she's mixed.
I
She
mean,
went with
that
that.
could be a light skin aunt. I don't know. But the quality of character that these people have picked, and the idea that an organization that once had its focus on those things are now focused on, promoting the LGBTQ agenda, promoting some of the detrimental behaviors, we'll say, that certain people have undertaken. They've taken a stance on this illegal immigration thing. They've taken certain stances that are contrary to the things that would actually help the black community. They advocate for candidates most of the time that we end up finding problems with. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. It's absolutely.
One of the things that I find interesting, bro, is I looked at their current website. As you see on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, this is the current NAACP website. And when you look at it, look at what they're fighting racial injustice, mobility in a thriving black economy, fair and just representation, world-class education, an inclusive culture of health. We work on to turn the black community's priorities into public policy, an environment of social and economic revolution, and support for young leaders and change
All right,
agents.
click on policy and legislation. Let's see what they got. See what they're working on. Give them something. Let's see what you got. Okay, what are the policy and legislation? Okay, our work is okay. Go. Our priorities: protecting and defending the right to vote. Okay.
Everybody has the right to vote. I get protecting it. Address high housing costs, expand connectivity, ensuring equitable tax, prioritize a reproductive justice, healthcare, removing student debt, supporting a green economy. Nothing about keeping black communities safe. Nothing about protecting black families, ensuring that the family unit is intact. Nothing about the things that actually matter.
And that is very slick of y'all. Go down, go back down. That's very slick of y'all to put support a green economy that empowers black entrepreneurs. That was slick. That was slick. Y'all slid that in there. That was very nice. I have to tell you.
Now
If
we're
I was
adding belonging. We're adding belonging.
diversity, equity, inclusion, and
Belonging.
belonging.
If you're in, well,
Diversity,
you could be
equity,
included and not
inclusion.
belong. Deeb. It got a new. It's a new acronym. Deeb.
DEI, DIAB.
Deeb. Oh man. So I bring all of that up to say, essentially, is that this is an organization that has clearly lost its way. I've gone to NAACP meetings across the state of North Carolina, and it's the same. Unfortunately,
All
it's
right,
the same type
so
of
here's
person.
what happens. Right? And we have to do an experiment on this. We want to find out who all of the local chapter leaders are. And if we start to see a pattern, right, in the leadership of the organization, then certain assumptions will be safe to be made at this point, right? The fact of the matter that black and Latino men and women have started voting opposed to the Democrat Party is a testament to people starting to snap out of this narrative that they've promoted for so long, which is really we are the victims of the slave trade, and because of slavery and Jim Crow, we need special attention because of and the reparations and the equity and the diversity and the equity and it's ridiculous, Ali. It's absolutely
So
ridiculous.
here you go. Here's North Carolina's NAACP leadership. You got President Deborah Maxwell. You got Youth and College Division President Francesca Mitchell, and then you've got oh gosh, Daquan Marcel Love is the executive in the North Carolina State Conference. So that's there. Let me try something. Virginia NAACP president. Let me go here. Let me try this. Cozy Bailey. Hold on, let's see. Virginia NAACP. Oh, they don't even give you a page in Virginia. Who's Cozy Bailey? Reverend Cozy Bailey is a current Bailey is a graduate of Naval Academy and served so you got a he there, but he's likely a Democrat. Bailey is supportive judicial decision that removed Virginia from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative was
New
unlawful.
York is ran by Dr. Hazel N. Dukes, is president of the NAACP New York State Conference and member of the National Board of Directors. Justice.
I'm looking for Illinois to see who got Chicago. There you go. Theodia Pace, president. Francine Nicholson, Sandra LeConte. Yeah, one dude, bunch of women, poor young man. Is that a man down there? Yeah, that's a young man.
So here's the thing. There's a lot of and I'm saying this respectfully, that there's a lot of credentialing here of let's say the New York representation, right? So Dr. Dukes received a bachelor degree in business administration from Adelphi, Garden City, completed postgraduate at Queens College. In 1990, she was awarded an honorary Doctor of Law degree from the City University of New York. She was conferred the honorary Doctor of Humane Letters from Edgar Evers College. She was awarded an honorary degree of Humane Letters from
You
Thorough
gotta
College.
stop, bro. All this honorary. I don't got no respect for that, bro.
Dr. Duke has many organizational affiliations.
Did she ever earn PhD at anything?
No.
Yeah, I don't call you doctor or anything then. You
She
didn't
is
earn
the
that.
former president of the Metro Manhattan Links chapter.
Well, there you go. That says y'all know what the links are, right?
In 2010, was appointed to the National Links NGO representative and is a former trustee of the State University of New York and Stillman College. Is the member of the National Council of Negro Women, Inc. and National Black Leadership Commission on AIDS. Is the recipient of numerous awards for her leadership. The Ellis Island Medal. So my point in saying all of this is how disconnected is leadership from the people? Meaning to say, she hasn't, and I'm saying this respectfully, how would you know what's going on to fix any of the problems?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't have and I think that's a necessary thing. You have to have somebody that has an understanding of a problem to fix it, I think. So we'll leave it there, Ali. We obviously gonna have to do a part. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because we didn't even really get into the political side of it really too much. But
you're right. You're right. And that is a symptom. What you're seeing with the NAACP is a symptom of what we're seeing on the left in general. And we can see it at the results of this 2024 election show us is that these people are so disconnected from the average everyday American. They've ceased to be a group that serves the people, and it is serving that talented tenth. It is serving the air finger quote elites. It is what I like to call the intellectual circle jerk crew. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, tell us what you think. Is the NAACP still a worthy organization? Does it deserve respect? Get in the comments. Let us know what you think. Make sure you like, share, follow, subscribe everywhere that we are on social media at The Urban Conservative or TUC Twins, the website tuconservative.com. Each and every Monday night, we drop a new episode of The Urban Conservative Podcast. And check us out tomorrow morning for Top of the Morning here on The Urban Conservative. For my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, I'm Abdul Ali. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Peace and love, y'all.
This is Cash Patel here in North Carolina, and I'm live.